What is up, everybody? It is Drew, Traveler of the Burning Abyss, here with another video. And last night I went to my Heart of the Underdog Locals tournament again. I went last week and got first place with Rikka Sunavalon. This week I went and I ended up getting first with Altergeist, which is pretty cool. I literally threw this deck together 10 minutes before leaving my house and expected to like go 0-2 drop. But quite the opposite happened. I only went to game 3 once because I 2-0'd everyone, which is other than one opponent, which is pretty crazy. So like, this deck actually operated extremely well. I'm gonna talk somewhat in depth about my choices and kind of describe what it worked well against and what it didn't work well against. The matchups that I had, round 1, I played against what did I play against? I had all this written down in the notes app on my phone. Actually, no, first round I played against Shaddoll. So first round was Shaddoll, which I 2-0'd. Second round was Heroes, which I 2-0'd. Third round was Unchained, which went to game 3, and I won. And then round 4 was against Rikka Sunavalon, which I also 2-0'd. So yeah, this deck was definitely performing better than I expected it to, and at our next Heart of the Underdog Locals, it'll be hard for me to bring something else because I just enjoy what this deck does. But if you're not subscribed already, go ahead and smash the subscribe button, turn the notification bell on so you know when I upload more cool and awesome videos like the one you're watching right now. And let's go ahead and jump into a very fun and interactive trap card deck. All right, so for some people who don't know, I'll give you a little background here. When I play Master Duel, which is not very often anymore, I almost exclusively play Altergeist. Like, it's just the deck that I play on there. Don't ask me why, it's just the deck that I play. I have like 3 other decks on there, but Altergeist is what I go with for some reason. But I love playing this deck. It's a lot of fun for me anyways. Usually my opponents don't enjoy it. The deck does a lot more than you'd think it would, and it has a very high skill cap. Even though you're just flipping trap cards, your sequencing is very important. The order in which you activate certain cards is important. So yeah, we'll start with the Altergeist monsters. I played 3 copies of Multi-Faker. Of course, why wouldn't you? This card is crazy. It just says basically that you're going to get a free Compulse on your board or something else. Yeah, this card is nuts, absolutely nuts. I love playing Faker. I resolved this with so many trap cards from my hand. It was actually crazy the amount of times that I resolved like an Imperm and then did a Faker, or resolved an Evenly and then did a Faker. So yeah, 3 Faker, fully necessary. 3 Marionetter. Obviously the setting effect from deck is really important, but I also want to point out how important it is to do the resummoning effect, because the summon from grave helps you link climb a lot, which can really just win you the game flat out. Because if you make a Hextia against a deck that does a lot of spell activations, you probably have the game. So yeah, 3 Marionetter is definitely necessary. I played 3 copies of Meliseek. This card won me a ridiculous amount of games, especially against like the Rikka Sunavalon player. I was just swinging face with it, and then I was using the effect to send the Rikka Con to grave, and then main phase 2, like, I just linked this off for a Link Karibo, search a Faker, and then I'm good. Yeah, this card was crazy, absolutely crazy. I honestly think this might be, if Faker wasn't a card, this would obviously be the best card in the deck. Like, it's fantastic. Just sending cards is nuts. Obviously, with Mystic Mind being banned in the TCG now, we can't use this card to its fullest potential, but we can still do the best we can. Then I played 2 Silkwoodus. This is your Compulse, and then it is technically your add back from grave to grab the traps. That didn't come up at all yesterday. The bounce came up all the time, as it typically does, but the add back from grave didn't. Yeah, this card's crazy. I really love this card. Like, literally the entire deck is just these small statted monsters, and you somehow just manage to simplify a game state, and then you just win. It's pretty crazy. And then the one-ofs, I played the 1 Konkari and the 1 Pukari. So I think that 1-1 is fine. A lot of people usually play 1-1 or they play 1-0. This card came up a decent amount. It helped Link climb a bit. If I already had a Silk Lotus on board and I was trying to summon a Faker from hand, a lot of times if it was my turn, I would summon the Pukari, because then I'd just get multiple Link summons because of it. Like, the card is just really, really good. Yeah, it's actually pretty nuts. So this card was decent, and when I added it back to hand, I a lot of times would shuffle it back in a deck with spoofing, and then I would get Konkiri, or if I hadn't normal summoned yet, I'd get Meliseek. So yeah, this card has a lot of important uses. The Konkiri was fantastic in pretty much every single game that I had. I don't think there's a single game that I didn't summon it. Yeah, the card put in work. Like, these two one-ofs were some of the best operating cards in my deck. Moving on to the going second cards, though, I played 9 going second cards. So I played 3 copies of Ash, I played 3 copies of Imperm, and I played 3 copies of Evenly. So I think that this was, like, fantastic. I was very, very content with this. So last week when I went with Rikka Sunavalon, I played against a lot of branded. So I was expecting to see a lot of branded Despia type decks again this week. I did not see a single person playing the branded Despia deck at all this week, and we had the same number of people at this tournament as we did in last week's. I think we had around 14 people. So it was very, very odd going from seeing 4 matchups that played the Brandon engine to seeing literally none. So I was prepared for those matchups, but they just honestly did not come up and didn't happen, which is fine. Like, that's gonna be a thing. No worries. But the Ash was really good generically against everything. I didn't get to do it on a Fusion Destiny, which sucks, but I still played through the hero player's board, which was very fun. The Imperm was fantastic. I Impermed so many people, and it was extremely, extremely useful. And then the Evenly, so I didn't get to go Imperm Faker that much. I did it like maybe once, but it was like I drew Faker for the 6th card, and I held the Imperm purposely, because I wasn't going to be able to cut their combo off with 1 Imperm. So, like, I'd draw Faker for 6th card, and then I'd play, but that wasn't anything crazy. Evenly, however, I resolved Evenly plus Faker so many times, it was ridiculous. I had to resolve Evenly Faker like 3-4 times in the course of 4 rounds. Like, it was nuts. This, like, hands down is probably my favorite going second engine. Like, these 9 cards just do so much work for this deck. But those are the going second cards. I'm just going to show you the spells that we play. I only play 3 spells, and that would be my 3 Pot of Prosperity. I didn't play Secret Village. I didn't play Necro Valley. Obviously, it's Heart of the Underdog, so Tier isn't even legal in Heart of the Underdog because it's just such a good deck. I didn't play Duality either. I don't know if I said that already or not. But I didn't play Duality. No Duality, no Necro Valley, no Secret Village. I did not feel any of them were completely necessary, and I think that the Prosperity did the work that I needed it to. Against the Unchained player in game 1, I resolved 2 Prosperities, which was awesome, and that was a game 1 that I will definitely sit there and look back at and go, wow, it took a lot of skill, because I had to use one of my trap cards at a very opportune moment, and it was still a weird play against a deck like Unchained. We'll get to that card in a little bit. But yeah, this card resolving twice and doing some weird plays to play around his board was pretty nutty. Those are the only spell cards we play, those, the 3 Prosperity. So moving on to the traps now. I played, for the Altergeist stuff, 3 copies of Spoofing, 2 Protocol, and 1 Manifestation. So Spoofing was one of the best cards, hands down. Protocol was also ridiculous because I would, like, summon a Faker from hand after activating Protocol, and then I'd use the on-field effect, and they try and negate it, and I'm like, you can't negate it. Like, Protocol is up. Like, it's not gonna work. It was actually ridiculous, like how good Protocol was to just let my Faker resolve and go through. The monster negation came up, I'm gonna say 2 or 3 times. It actually didn't come up that much because I was able to control with everything else that I had, which was fantastic. So that was really cool. Spoofing was spoofing, like I said. Yeah, not too much else to say on these. They're really good cards. These are always getting set off of Marionetter. This obviously can't. Up next is probably what I would consider the MVP of the day. This card, well, MVP for the trap lineup, that is. This card like won me more games than I can even like fathom. And that is 3 copies of Torrential Tribute. I flipped this card so many times, and this card put in work every single time I flipped it. It practically won me the matchup against the Rikka Sunavalon deck. I mean, the card got flipped in, I think it was game 1. And like he had already started to establish his board, and I did it at a choke point where he had normal summoned and already like special summoned off Unexpected Die. So he really didn't have much, and then I activated a Faker right after I did that. So like, yeah, this card is really, really good. I flipped it against the Unchained player, which is what I was talking about a second ago when I was talking about Prosperity. This card is terrible against Unchained, theoretically. However, the situation I was in, it made sense because I got his Abominable off the field, and I got one of his other names off the field, and then when he specialed on res, I was able to multi-faker, and then I just bounced whatever he summoned, and it just made it significantly more easy for me to play through his board, and he really didn't have much that he could do. So yeah, Torrential was fantastic against everything. Honestly, it was really good against everything. I don't remember if I activated it against the Shaddoll player. I might have like once. And like, that's the thing, I played against decks that like you really don't want to wipe their boards. Like flipping Torrential against Unchained or Shaddoll seems kind of counterintuitive, but it actually put in a lot of work, believe it or not. So I actually can't complain at all. It was fantastic against the Rikka Sunavalon deck though. Like, this card honestly probably won me that game. Then we're gonna go on to the cards that I thought were gonna be super useful, but ended up being pretty much just duds. One of them was somewhat useful. The other one I did not even like resolve once, and I sided it out every single game. But the card that was okay was D-Barrier. So the reason that this card was only okay is that I played against Rikka Sunavalon, and I also played against Unchained. And this card does nothing against either of those decks. I mean, you can flip it and call XYZ against Rikka Sunavalon, but you don't have to. Like, they're still going to be able to combo off and make their link board pretty sizable. So I don't think that D-Barrier is necessary against it. It was good against Shaddoll's, obviously, because they activate a fusion and you just flip the D-Barrier. The only matchup that this card was like really, really good against was the hero matchup, for obvious reasons. Like, I don't think I have to go in detail about that. It's a card that just cuts off their fusion summoning and then they can't do much. And then if you have the Faker, which I've always got the Faker, you just D-Barrier, call fusion, and then on res Faker summon the Silk and everything, and you're gonna go ahead and just bounce whatever they summon. So yeah, those D-Barriers were okay against 2 matchups, and they weren't good against the other matchups. Then the card that, and the reason that, the reason that I played D-Barrier and the next card that I'm going to show you is because of Branded Despia being so heavily played last week, and that is 3 copies of Rivalry of the Warlords. So Rivalry is a fantastic card against the Branded Despia deck. It's a really, really good card. I didn't play against any yesterday. I also only played against decks that are monotype. So I played against Rikka Sunavalon, which is all plants. I played against Unchained, which is all fiends. I played against Heroes, which is all warriors, and I played against Shaddoll, which is all spellcasters. So this card literally did nothing, and it got sided out every single game. But in theory, our locals, because we do have Brandon Despia as a deck that is playable at Heart of the Underdog, this card theoretically is good. It's just that nobody showed up with it yesterday. So the Rivalry and the D-Barrier were primarily for those, which is why these 6 cards got sided out a fairly decent amount. But that is the main deck. It's 40 exact. I'm going to go ahead and hop on over to the extra deck and show you the cards that we basically banished off of Prosperity, except for like a few other cards. So let's take a look. All right, so as many people know, Altergeist extra deck does not matter too much. There's like 6 slots that you basically keep for usage. The rest of them are more than able to be banished, and they don't really hold that much of a significance. A lot of them are situational. So starting off, we have the 3 copies of Hextia. This card was fantastic. I did get double Hextia out once. And yeah, when you get double Hextia out against a deck like Shaddoll, they usually don't have much to do against you. Like it kind of just wrecks their day and they can't play the game, which is great. Like for me, not for them, but for me. So I had a lot of good usage out of this for that reason. Additionally, it was good against Unchained because Unchained does play a lot of trap cards. So I was able to utilize my Hexia to kind of counter that too. So the attack boost is also fairly relevant. I did make a misplay once where I could have had this have a lot more attack. But instead I had a Meliseek pointing to it. It was when I did the double Hextia, so I had one up here, I summoned one down here, and then I had a Meliseek here when it could have been a Marionetter. But that's okay, it happens. I was still in complete control of the game. It didn't make a difference. I had lethal on board anyways. So yeah, the Hexias were great. The searches never actually came up, so I didn't have to search off of them at any point. Then I played 1 Prime Banshee. This got banished off of Prosperity every single time. I didn't ever summon it. That's about as fancy as it gets. 2 Memory Gant. This card is fantastic. It just did not come up. I'm basically gonna show you all the cards that did come up. I'll just tell you what cards did come up. So Memory Gant didn't come up. So far, the only card that's come up is Hextia. The next card is the other card that came up a lot, and that is Linkuriboh, because, you know, Meliseek just turns into Linkuriboh, which is pretty fancy. So yeah, Linkuriboh is really good. It helped me in a lot of weird situations. Actually, in game 2 against the Rikka Sunavalon player, I didn't draw that well. I drew Meliseek, Spoofing, Ash, Nib, and I think Pukari. So it wasn't a great opening 5 cards, but I normaled, did I say Meliseek? Spoofing, Meliseek, Ash, Nib, Pukari, yeah. So those are the 5 cards that I opened. So I normaled the Meliseek and linked it for Linkuriboh and searched for Faker. And then I set the Spoofing and passed, and he went evenly, and I just got rid of the Linkuriboh because like I didn't need it because he was already using his battle phase. So main phase 2, I just have the Spoofing set. He starts to combo off and I nib him, which is really good. Then he tries to go Unexpected Die and I ash it. And then he normal summon Lone Fire. I flipped the Spoofing and shuffled the Pukari to search for Meliseek. And then on Res, I went Faker, summon itself, and then summon Silk, and then Silk bounced his Lone Fire. So yeah, that was really, really good. And that basically won me the game because he didn't actually see any other engine cards, so he kept having to try and normal summon Lone Fire, which obviously kept getting bounced by Silk. So yeah, that was crazy. This card was really, really good though. Yeah, not much else to say about it. Everything else, I'm going to show you guys what I played, and I'll explain a little bit, but everything else did not come up. I didn't summon it once. So yeah, but we'll talk about it anyways. So 2 Relinquish Anima. I feel like this doesn't need much explanation. This is basically for going second, hoping that your opponent's zone placement is poor and that you can just steal their stuff. Yeah, if you drop this and steal a card and you get a search off of a Meliseek, that seems pretty darn good. So yeah, it just didn't come up though. one of the Artemis. You could make an argument to say like this could be Almirage, but like I wanted to have this going first in the instance that I was playing like Rivalry. So I linked the Meliseek for this, and then I can still flip Rivalry and not worry about losing a Link Karibo. That didn't come up though. This got banished off of Prosperity every single time. The Link 2s are up next, one Akashic and one Dark. The Akashic is pretty cool. I never summoned it, but it is very neat in theory. The Dark is fantastic. You can just link one of your Fakers off and that's fine. It didn't come up though. Like I said, neither of these were summoned. This I usually kept an extra deck. This I usually banished off of Prosperity. But like I said, the only cards that I literally summoned from my extra deck were Hextia and Link Karibo. I didn't summon anything else. So one Selene and one access code to round off the extra deck. The Selene was obviously there to help Link climb, especially with like something like Dark. You Dark steal their card, link the Dark in the card for your copy of Selene, and then if you can manage to revive a spellcaster from grave, then you just link them for the access code. In theory, really cool play. Did it happen? Nope. It didn't happen at all. So yeah, that's the extra deck though. Nothing crazy because I only summoned 2 cards from the extra deck. I only summoned Hextia and I only summoned Link Karibo. That's all that hit the field for my extra. But we're gonna move on to the side deck now, so you can see what I was throwing in to kind of mitigate my game 2s and 3s. Okay, so we cited a few other hand traps, and I know a lot of people, generally speaking, kind of like the way I side deck, and I think that side decking is the most important thing in the game, to be honest, because if I'm being like completely realistic, game 1 means virtually nothing in the game of Yu-Gi-Oh! Other than like a knowledge standpoint. Game 2 and 3 are the like more important ones, but realistically game 3 is the most important game in Yu-Gi-Oh! So your extra deck, or I'm sorry, your side deck dictates how game 3 goes most of the time. So for me, I was side decking 3 copies of Droll and Lockbird. This was because I thought there's going to be a lot of Branded Despia, and that deck does do a lot of searching. And like I said, there ended up being no Branded Despia, whereas last week there was almost all Branded Despia. So yeah, this card didn't get sided in once, which is unfortunate, but hey, it is what it is. Up next, 3 copies of Nibiru. This card came up a decent amount. I Nibiru'd the Sunavalon Rikka player, and I think I also Nibiru'd the hero player. At the minimum, I know I Nibiru'd the Rikka Sunavalon player. I can't remember if I Nibiru'd the hero player or not. But yeah, this card's still really, really good. Then 3 copies of Lightning Storm. I sided it in against the Rikka Sunavalon deck, and I think I sided it in against Unchained too. Even though like their back row can trigger when it's destroyed, I wanted to be able to wipe whatever they might have set. I may have also sided in against the Shaddoll matchup because he was playing the Trap Shaddoll deck, so he had a lot of back row, so I just would side in Lightning Storm, but I didn't need it because I even lead his board instead and then result a Faker afterwards, so that's actually pretty nuts. Then our going first cards, 3 copies of Anti-Spell and 3 copies of Judgment. I did not flip either of these once, believe it or not. I sided them in for games where I was going to be going first, and I did not see them at all. There's a point where this was a card that I drew on my second turn of the game, and at that point I had already built up such an advantage that the card did nothing. It was literally just a dead draw, and I already had everything that I needed in hand to play. So yeah, the Anti-Spell didn't do anything, and then like I said, Judgment didn't do anything either because I didn't see either of them. But in theory, really good cards in theory. I just never got the opportunity to do anything with them. But yeah, that basically rounds up the entirety of the deck. Very, very fun event. I really like Heart of the Underdog events. I will not be going back to playing at like a serious competitive level until they really clean the game up, because They kind of dug their own grave, and I don't want to play the current format. I just don't enjoy it. Like, you'd think that I would, because I play Burning Abyss and I love to mill cards. So you'd think I'd love tier, but I actually don't enjoy the play style at all. I think it's chaotic, and I think it's very clustered, and it doesn't encourage diversity in the game and format, which to me is a significant issue. I like formats where there's like 5 decks that are very, very viable and pretty well split. So yeah, but that basically rounds up the video. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, give the video a thumbs up. Don't forget to smash that subscribe button, turn the notification bell on, so you know when I upload more cool and awesome content like the video you just watched. And for right now, this is Drew, Traveler of the Burning Abyss, signing out.